Hey YouTubers, Steven here. Okay, today we're going to do something different. I drive a 2002 Dodge Caravan Sport. This is my third Caravan. I absolutely love the Caravans. I actually just sent in my lease there a few months ago from a 2007 Grand Caravan. I'll never lease again. But anyways, I digress. Here on YouTube, mechanical videos are awesome. There's lots of them out there. But they're lacking Dodge Caravans. You find the odd one. Here's how you change a light bulb in the back, and I may do that down the road because it's fairly simple. Anybody can do it. So today I've got a problem with my van. It's got a miss. I actually know what's wrong with it, and I'm going to fix it. But I'm going to walk you through the steps, all right, of diagnosing or checking a miss. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to hop in the van. I'm going to connect a code reader to it, and we're going to see what error codes come up on my van, because I noticed my check engine light's always coming on. For this, the purpose of this video is for entertainment only. I'm going to stress that because I can't give you mechanical advice. I can point you in the right direction. I downloaded the service manual for the Caravan on the internet, and if you want to look for it, I can find the link off of the torrent site, and I can post the link in the more information if you're looking for the service manual. So I'm going to show you how to do this, but again, I'm not a licensed mechanic, so take what you see with a grain of salt, because in no way can I be liable if you do what I do and you break something on your engine. Okay, so let's hook up the code reader and see what we get. Alright, so we've got a code reader. If you don't have one, keep an eye on the flyers. Buy one. If you do your own home yard mechanics, you definitely need one, because these things are invaluable. So basically what we do, there's a port under here. You don't have to show them. There's a port under here that you plug it into. A lot of people probably look at it and say, gee, what's that for? Plug it in. Turn your key forward. My van's a dirty mess. Okay, and come a little closer. Show the screen. My daughter's being the camera person today. Alright, so found two codes. We're going to read our codes. We want to read the engine, not the transmission. That's what I love about these code readers. You can read everything. And it's going to check the codes, and here's my problem. P0206. Injector circuit open, cylinder 6. So that's 1 of 3. Cylinder 6 misfire detected. And cylinder 6 misfire detected. Now, if you actually do a search on the internet for these error codes, you'll actually find that there's a whole host of things that could be causing it. I already did all the simple maintenance things, changed my wires, changed my plugs, and I do have it narrowed down that it actually is the fuel injector, because when it misses or sputters, I can smell gas in the fuel, so I know the solenoid's not closing properly. So, let's get the engine open and we'll get this started. Alright, so, here we are. Alright, like I said, I've already changed the spark plug wires, spark plugs. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to disconnect our battery. Okay, now I've already loosened the bolt, because if your terminal's actually this loose, you've got a problem. There we go, battery's disconnected. Whenever you work on the electrical system in your van, you should always disconnect the positive battery terminal. So basically, come over here. Okay, we got a lot of stuff to take off because our fuel injectors are actually under this plenum. Okay, so we have to remove our power steering reservoir out of the way. we have our vacuum lines. This is for your brakes. So that's going to come off. We'll tuck that out of the way. And then we have another vacuum line. And that we're just going to tuck out of the way. Then our throttle cables need to be disconnected. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. And we need to take this air breather part off. We're just going to chuck it behind us. And we need to take our air breather off. Now, if you've never changed your air filter, this is how you do it. Okay, there's a screw up here on this clamp. We're just going to undo it. Come over this side. And then there's two clamps. There's one here, and there's one in the back. Easiest way to get these off, stick your screwdriver underneath. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Put your thumb on the top and lift, and it'll pop right out. So let's get the other side. Same thing. And then you wiggle this off, take off the top. Here's your air filter. Okay, so we're just gonna pop this out. You don't have to take it off, but we're gonna take it off. And then this piece also needs to come off too, part of the air breather. Slide it off gently because there's actually a wire connector on the back side. You see this red? Okay, this is a lock. So you can pull and pull and pull and you'll actually end up breaking this little tiny sensor in here. You just snap it back and then the connector should just pop off. Like so. And then we're just going to put this aside as well. For the throttle cables, these are fairly easy. Okay, you just pull your throttle all the way up. And you just slide your cable down. There's a notch here where that slides out. And your second one, same thing. You slide it down to the notch, feed it through. There you go. Now your throttle cables are all undone. The majority of the tools that you're going to need are an 8mm wrench, a 10mm wrench, a 10mm socket, and an 8mm socket. So I'm going to get some more of this gear off. Okay, this EGR valve needs to come off as well. Okay, and then we'll start the camera back up once I get some of these items off. Okay, so we got our vacuum valve off. And back here of your throttle body, there's two wiring harnesses that need to come off. Okay, there's one, and the other one is down below. If I can see where the lock is. Okay, that's off. There's another vacuum line under here. I'm sure my hands are in the way. That slides off. And there's another one on top of the plenum. Okay, that just slides off as well. Okay, I'm going to take that off. We'll just set that in the air breather. And we have another wiring harness here. Another example with the lock. Press it down, it comes off. One word of advice for the power steering reservoir. You see the two nuts that are on the top, but there's a nut in the back. It's a 10mm socket. You loosen it. Don't take it off because it actually holds the power steering reservoir in place. We're just going to slide this up. Oh, I guess I don't have it off enough. Give me a second here because it takes a minute to actually find it. Alright, there we go. And we'll just slide that off and we'll just tuck it back in here out of the way if we can. Alright, that's about as far back as we're going to get her. So the next thing I need to do, there are 8 bolts. These are These bolts hold the plenum in place. There's 4 in the back and 4 in the front, and they are all 10 mil. So the front ones, you could use a ratchet. Don't use an air wrench on them because you can strip them. So it's better to just take them off by hand. Just give them a little loosen. Alright, and then I usually just take my 10 mil socket and spin them off by hand. And you should have a place to put all your bolts. I find just up here on this ridge is fine for the number of bolts that I have. These bolts I'll actually put aside just so that they're all together. And then we'll just carefully take these off, and we'll come back when I'm ready to pull the plenum. Okay, now we're ready to take the plenum off. Alright, so I've taken all the bolts out, and it just pops off that easy. That's it. This is your throttle body. Alright, there's a sensor in here that when you pull back on your gas, it tells the computer, okay, they're opening the throttle, and there you go. The air comes inside and then comes out through these ports. Okay, now it's important to check these gaskets, okay? These look in really good shape, so I don't think I'm going to replace them. What I'll probably do is I'll probably just take a rag and clean them up. So gently, I'm going to put this down out of my way, because it is just made out of plastic. Alright, now here we go. Here's our fuel rail, and these are our fuel injectors. They go down inside the holes. So the first thing we need to do is we need to relieve the pressure in our gas line, or it's going to make it even more difficult. It's just a little plastic cap we take off, and I just put a little rag under here for now, and just take your screwdriver and just like an air hose, just press in. Okay, so we're going to take our connectors off our fuel injectors, and some of these look like they've been worked on before because they don't have the lock on them. Not a big deal, it's just a little added insurance, if you will. And if you were just running your van, watch out, because it's going to be very hot. Alright, so we get all our wiring harness off, and we'll just snap these little clips off of the fuel rail that help hold them in place. Alright, and we'll just stick the wire and harness out of the way. And then these are 10 mil bolts. Alright, so we're just going to take our ratchet, undo them, and then I'll show you how to disconnect the fuel rail. Okay, so first thing we got to do before we take the fuel rail off, okay, is I've taken my rag, okay, and I've covered over the intake manifold because I don't want anything going down there. We need to blow the dirt out of here. We don't want any of the dirt that's sitting on top of the intake manifold going down the holes for a fuel injector. So we've got that done. And we're going to take our rags off. Make sure nothing gets in there. Okay, and I'm going to take my rag again that had the gas on. We're going to lay it down under here. And I've got a bucket to capture the gas. Okay, because there's a lot of fuel in this fuel rail. So, all you do, okay, where did my black cap go? Okay, we're going to put our cap back on so we don't lose it and or forget it. And then all you do is you take these, you pinch the green, and you just disconnect it. Very carefully, because if not, then you're going to be buying a new clip for up here. And then to get all your injectors out in the fuel rail, gently pull up on the fuel rail. And it's very hard to do where the engine is actually hot. Okay, so just gently wiggle it out. and your fuel injectors will come out with it. Just like so. And then we'll take our gas and we'll pour it in the bin. And here's our fuel injectors on our fuel rail. So we'll let the gas drain out and we'll come back. Alright, so this is the way the fuel rail will come out. This is our injector number 6. So basically, it's just a little metal clip that you just slide off. Be gentle, you don't have to really come onto it. It just takes a little bit of work to slide it out. But you also don't want to break it, it's very light metal. And then you just give a little twist and work it out. Makes a liar out of me. There we go. Alright, and the seal decided it wanted to stay inside. So, take that out, put it off to the side. Then we take our new fuel injector, put the old one in the box because it's garbage. And it's recommended for the rubber seals, use just a little bit of oil. I like using penetrating oil because this stuff is slippery as oh you know what. So we'll just put a little bit on the O-ring, and I'll put some on that after. Then we just slide it in the hole, just like we did with the other. Give it a little twist so it sits in there properly. And then we take our clip, and you can see how the fuel injector is grooved. Okay, this is also grooved. So we just line up the grooves and slide it on. Little turn so it's tight. There we go. There's our new fuel injector. Now I'm going to check our holes, make sure there's no dirt or anything in them before I put the fuel rail back on. So I just have a little bow. That one's clean. That one's clean, and there's a little bit of dirt on that one. Alright, so I'm just going to get my shop vac. I'm just going to vacuum up, you know, the dirt and crud that's around these holes, and then we'll come back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now that I'm ready to put the fuel rail back in is I'm just going to give these O-rings just a little wipe, get the dirt off them. When it comes to your engine, there's no such thing as being too clean, because you certainly don't want this stuff going down your engine. As fine as it is, it'd be bad. So I'm just going to put a little penetrating oil on all the O-rings. Help seal them, make them go in a little easier. And then we just slide them down on the holes. Line them up. Try not to touch the sides. Again, we don't want to knock any dirt in there. And we're just going to gently push them into place. First the front, then the back, and once we get them all lined up in the holes, it's just a light push in. And just like that, just make sure they're all seated in there nice. Fuel rail is down as far as it'll go. And then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take the wiring harness off, and I'm going to check the wires, make sure there's no short in the wires between the wiring harness and the computer on the van. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to do what's called a continuity test. Alright, I've got a multimeter here, and basically when it makes connection, you hear a beep. So I've marked, okay, this is fuel injector number 6. So I'm just going to stick one of the probes in the hole. Should actually have a smaller probe, so I don't want to strip it. And then I basically have to find the corresponding one up here. And since this is probably going to be time consuming, I'm just going to do the test for entertainment purposes. You can see how to do it. Okay, so I've checked the wiring harness from this connector up to the fuel injector. All right, both the positive and the ground working fine. So now I looked at the wiring diagram. Okay, and I've taken my terminal off of my computer, and my book told me C114. So this is 1, this one's 2, I assume. It was a good guess because I had it right. And then these are numbered 1 through 10, and the top row is 31 to 40, just to help you do your math. Okay, so we've got 1 here, and we've got a 10 here. So that means that this is number 11, 12, 13, 14. This is for fuel injector number 6. And we have a beep. So that tells me that the wiring harness is fine. There's no short in the wire here. And then if we switch it over to the ground, then I should be able to pretty much, those are all grounds. Alright, so looking at my numbers, 0.2. Alright, so now, just so I know I have the same numbers here, I'm just going to pick another plug. I'm not sure which it is on the numbering diagram, so I'll just have to check. There we go. 0.2. So the resistance is the same. And I'm just going to switch it over to the positive side. Make sure I get the same numbers. The resistance is a little higher in that one. So I checked the wiring harness, okay, from the injectors right back to the computer. I've already got the wiring harness back in place, so we'll just put our little tabs in, keep the wires where they're supposed to be. And then we'll connect our computer back up. Make sure it's seated in there good. Now, are you paying attention? Yeah, no, you weren't. Anyways, we're going to hook our fuel line back up. So we'll bring it down here, and we just slide it up. And see the holes? You just make sure that your fuel lines, your clips, go over that hole. Sometimes it's easier said than done.
Let's go.
And snap it in place. Our fuel line is back on. Now I'm going to change the plenum gaskets. So we've got new gaskets on here as well. And then basically just reverse the steps, put everything back on in the same order that you took it off. And if you do it right, you won't have any bolts left. So I'm going to get back to putting this all back together, and hopefully that fixes my problem by changing the fuel injector, because I know it's not in the wiring harness. I did a continuity resistance check, and all the wires have the same resistance right back up to the computer. So if it's not the fuel injector, I know for sure it's definitely not the wiring harness. Then we'll have to look at other options, but at least with this video I've shown you how to take apart your Dodge Caravan 3.3 liter engine, and how to change fuel injection, and how to check your wiring harness as well to check that error. Now, this may be an act of futility, you know, it may not be the injector, it may be something else. Found that out with the plugs and wires, but this van's got 203,000 kilometers on it. I had no idea when the last time the wires and plugs were changed, so it just makes good maintenance sense anyways, that if they haven't been changed, you may as well do them as far for, you know, maintenance purposes anyways. And that's another thing that was fairly easy to do on my own. While I have this apart, I'm going to change the plenum gaskets. Now, all 6 gaskets were only 10 bucks, so cheap to do. It's really easy to do. Camera person, this way. Down here. Thank you. Alright, there's a little tab here. All you do is hook your finger, pull it off. Now I'll show you something. You can see this is the new one, this is the old. Alright, the new one is considerably thicker. This is kind of squashed down. So this could be part of my problem. If you read the Dodge forums, you'll see tons of answers. You know, oh, this was my problem, that was my problem. One of the posts, this was all that buddy had to do was change his plenum gaskets, and it worked fine. But I'm not entirely convinced that this is my problem. But you know what? It's a cheap fix, and it's a heck of a lot easier than putting the engine back together and find out, oh, I still have the problem, and tear it all apart again. So we'll change our last one here. And it's just that simple. So now we just gotta put the plenum back on, put all our bolts back on, and we're ready to go. Thanks for watching, and I'm sure I'm gonna have some more mechanical videos to come out. This is an old van. I know there's a power window regulator and motor that need to come out on the passenger side. That'll probably be a video as well. I need an oil change soon, so I'll probably do an oil change, brakes. We'll do the easy maintenance stuff. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.